So that can be the first question to you. Soliloquy is a speech in mind that is said aloud. So ravens represents that blackbird with a harsh and shrieky sound. While it comes to 4 marks or comprehension or lengthy answers, it becomes easy for you to write. But 1 mark question is to be very cautiously answered. Knock knock. You open the door of success, and I'm here yet again to help you with one. I'm Soni Puama with 6 poems and 2 prose under the text of Stream of Commerce and Science English. I'm here again to help you with question and answers. Welcome to session 1 of question and answers under the poetry Romeo and Juliet. I hope you would have watched all the videos pertaining to this, but better late than never. If you wouldn't have watched though, also it's high time that you do, because unless you have the text with you, unless you have the videos alongside watched, it's not fruitful to watch the Q&A sessions. I mean the question and answer sessions at all. So it's high time, buckle yourself, pull up your socks, because you are a novice here in the sense that you are a learner. I have a question for you. What is that you do as a novice or a learner or an apprentice in a PUBG game? You will understand the game very thoroughly. You will understand where are the arms and ammunitions. You will understand the scheme of the battlefield, and then you will ponder into the gaming. But examination is exactly the same. You will have chances just like PUBG. You will die, you will revive, you will fight back. Examination is exactly the same. So this is the battle of PUBG. Imagine this to be the battle of PUBG, and your arms and ammunitions are the videos that you ought to watch. Unless you understand the scheme of the battle, you cannot fight back with the question and answers in the examination. Am I correct? Of course I am. Who can forget the game of PUBG, isn't it? So here this is not less than any of the gaming of your life. So here introducing to you the very first session, Romeo and Juliet question and answer session. So it's known to all that Romeo and Juliet is an adaptation of the play that's Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. A famous playwright, William Shakespeare. This is a text confined. A wise student will always have the text titled Springs alongside whenever you're in the session. Of course, as I have told you, if you don't have the text along, it's not fruitful at all. You will have to have watched the videos, you will have to have the text alongside. And ponder on to this, wise student keeps this along. It's not only the mobile that you ought to keep. Textbook is as important as we are living, to understand the concept. And what is that we are understanding today? We will understand the work of William Shakespeare, His Highness, or if I have to say, a great notable playwright and a sonneteer, William Shakespeare. And I want you to give a thought onto this. All that glitters is not gold. We would have come across this as a proverb to elaborate in our school days. But how far have we been justifying this? What does that mean? All that glitters is not gold. It's not a class session wherein I'll have to volunteer you in speaking, but I would want this as a homework. Think about this. What is the meaning when it says glitters? All that glitters is not gold. Discuss with your friends, discuss with your families, or if you're lethargic enough, I think you can discuss that with yourself as well in front of a mirror. Mirror can be your best friend. Take this as a secret. Okay, all right, without going apart, let's go to Romeo's Soliloquy, Act 1, Scene 5. So now, I am ought to discuss about the question and answer. So what is madam teaching about? Unless you know the soliloquy, I am giving you a secret funda. You have to understand this, because the whole of the extract is compiled with that of the figures of speech. Romeo's soliloquy is all about appreciation. It is completely filled of flowery words, wherein any man could go gala over his speech. And Juliet stays a woman. So how can she not fall for his words, isn't it? So William Shakespeare puts up a very lucid way of representation of a woman. The best thing to understand is, here William Shakespeare, in the way of Romeo, did not objectify Juliet. He compares Juliet to that of the nature. So that can be the first question to you. So when they ask you what is a soliloquy, soliloquy is a speech in mind that is said aloud. So that in play or drama that can reach the audience. Alright, so here Romeo's soliloquy, when he starts, oh, she does teach the torches to burn bright. So if you understand the first line, it's very easy for you to understand the question in the question paper in your examination. I do not want you to take it lightly. Be very studious enough, because this is an adaptation. So each and every line confines that Juliet is so very beautiful. So as you read the extract, you aren't confused about the soliloquies of Romeo and Juliet, because in the same extract you will have two soliloquies. One is from Romeo, the other one is from Juliet. So you will understand. And what is a figure of speech? Figure of speech is personification. How personification? Because Romeo teaches Juliet how beautiful she is to be recognized. So it's almost like Romeo is putting forward his ideas. So this stands as a personification. And next, again, Romeo's soliloquy. It seems she hangs. I want you to remember the first of the lines. Somewhere around, if you are elaborating an idea, if you can adapt these lines as a quotation, underline or highlight and then explain what is it all about, that will fetch you additional marks. And that's where the thought lies. So it seems she hangs upon the cheek of the night, and again it is personification. So what does he do? He represents Juliet to the morning. He says that Juliet represents the morning. So you have to understand that's a personification. And again, Romeo's soliloquy from the same act. He talks about hyperbole, or hyperbole is what we term it as. You can, either of those is a correct pronunciation, hyperbole or hyperbole, wherein he over exaggerates. What is personification? When you give a human trait to the non-living things. And what is hyperbole? It's an exaggeration. Oh my God, you're angelic. So this is what we know as exaggeration. Most of us we do. And also there is a repetition, which shows that Juliet is so beautiful that she is immortal. So all these lines will help you to elaborate or elucidate your answers. So mind you, you cannot get confused with that of the soliloquies of Romeo and Juliet, because Romeo's soliloquy is more into femininity, because Juliet is a woman. So the whole of the soliloquy is narrated or is in the figure of speech of femininity, and Juliet's soliloquy is masculine in nature, because Romeo is masculine by nature. Alright. So here next, Juliet's soliloquy that comes under Act 3, Scene 2. There is nothing much that she describes Romeo, but in the words that she has, that shows the future of Romeo and Juliet's relationship. So when it says, it starts with come night, come Romeo. So when the word comes Romeo, you should get a glance that it's Juliet's soliloquy. Who says this to whom is an annotation. You have to make it out. You have to figure it out at the first notch of your reading that these are the assertions of Juliet. And also, what is that she's talking about? She's talking about Raven's back. What is Raven's back? It's a blackbird. Raven is a blackbird. So when she talks about Raven, you will get a question. What does this indicate? This indicates their impending death. Black, ominous, ill treatment, everything of the family conflict which I have explained in the video. That's why I say you ought to watch the video. So ravens represents that blackbird with a harsh and shrieky sound which shows their impending death. So here, if you are elaborating, you have to give a point that Juliet was aware of their impending death. Alright. And again, the other one, give me my Romeo. So here it's understood, give me my Romeo. Who says this to whom? How do you annotate this? This is said by Juliet. It's not directly to Romeo, but in his absence, it's a soliloquy, so that the audience understands what is in her mind. And what is it? This is the one. So if you take all these consents, if you take all these conceptions, it becomes easy for you to understand. So understand the figure of speech first. So everything is a comparison from one thing to the another. So Romeo's soliloquy is more of feminine, wherein Juliet's soliloquy is more of masculine, because they are representing each other. And next, the last of the thing, Juliet admires Romeo's handsome personality. Of course, a man can be handsome, so it wouldn't be a point to ponder question who admires whom. And Juliet, when it says Juliet admires Romeo, and why? It's only because Juliet has a true love. It's not just an infatuation, but it's true love. Even though she knew that the families are very feuding each other, they belong to the rival families. Why did they marry? They entered a secret wedlock. The point to ponder is why? Love is blind. Sometimes it becomes deaf also. So that was their condition. So soliloquies are very important. Only in this you have to understand the soliloquies. Only across of the whole the text, it's only Romeo and Juliet, which is an adaptation of the play. And which play? William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. So why don't we gallop on to the question and answers? The first question, of course, when they ask, when according to Juliet, when it says Juliet, it understood that you have to answer in the perception of the Juliet. When according to Juliet, would Romeo make the face of the heavens so fine? Along with that, I have given you the hints. What is the hint? You get this in line 6. When I say JS, it is Juliet's soliloquy. When I say RS, it is Romeo's soliloquy. When they ask you for comprehension, that is 1 mark question, you have to be very precise in answering. Take my advice. I wouldn't want you to only give a single word or the bifurcated one. No, you'll have to complete that with complete of the sentence. You complete that with an abstract. That is, for example, when according to Juliet, when Romeo is cut finely into stars, at that time, Romeo can make the face of heaven so fine. So this is a wise answer. So you can't be lethargic in only giving a word. It has to fall in a sentence. So that's where you can acquire good marks. And next, what according to Romeo does Juliet teach to burn bright? Remember me talking about the figures of speech at the start? So here, what according to Romeo does Juliet teach to burn bright? The torches. What hint have I given you? That is hint line 1. Line 1, whose soliloquy? Romeo's soliloquy. The next question, when according to Romeo would his hand be blessed? So all kind of these questions. See, when it says, when according to Romeo, so whose perception is this? It is Romeo's perception. On whom? On Juliet. So his hands be blessed when he touches Juliet's hand. So it's very crisp. The answer is very, very crisp. So such kind of questions you can you can expect in the 1 mark comprehension, and you will get the multiple choice also. Sometimes it might be very perplexing. It might be very confusing. So give a thought. Romeo's thought. You will have to walk in the shoes of Romeo. For example, after the dance is over, Romeo would intend to what? Do what? So the answers are here. So you will have to understand. You will have to go back to the reading and understand with the hint. I have given the hint. The hint falls under line 8. Whose soliloquy? When I talk about RS, it is Romeo's soliloquy. So you have to go back to the lines of Romeo's soliloquy, and then you have to be wise enough to answer. And next, again 1 mark question. You can expect any of these. You can expect any of these questions in your question paper. So here also you will have a Romeo's soliloquy. What according to Romeo will happen when he touches Juliet's hand? See, there might be 2 questions or 1 question pertaining to the lesson or the poem. So be very cautious while you read the question. Give a second thought as how to answer the question, because while it comes to 4 marks or comprehension or lengthy answers, it becomes easy for you to write. But 1 mark question is to be very cautiously answered. So likewise, I have given you the hint. So these line falls under line 8. Whose soliloquy? Romeo's soliloquy. So such questions it will follow. So these are the 1 mark questions. I'll not waste your time in reading out all the questions, but my point of view is when you answer 1 mark questions, it's not only a word that matters, it's a sentence in the all way round. You have to be very cautious while you write, and mind you, you'll have to underline only the answer. If you are writing Romeo, underline Romeo, only the answer, but it has to be a compiled sentence. Just fetching it out on a word, it doesn't work because it's not a wise way of writing English at all. Even though they say, explain it in a word, write it in a word cannot be explained. You have to put it in a sentence. So every time the 1 mark question and answer should be followed by the instructions of a sentence. I hope I made it very clear to you. The 1 mark questions shouldn't be that difficult at all. And see one thing, you will have 2 questions likewise. They might put it in a other way around. So read the questions very impetuously. You will have to be very patient. That's why they say patience is virtue. Either English is very easy, you cannot score high. Rather, English is very difficult because you don't study. So I don't want you to linger in between. Either you be very cautious with writing or you don't have to study to flunk. Simple as that, but I'll always wish you all pass with high grades. And now, very important, that comes to the 4 mark questions. So how do you have to start? Most of the time, students glance with a question, they come up with a question. They'll say, ma'am, do we have to give an introduction of William Shakespeare in every of the question and answers? I would say no, not necessary at all. While you start the first question in a 4 marks, you can easily apply that. Or else you can, if you want to add William Shakespeare, you can add his name according to the question. William Shakespeare perception in the way of Romeo. It's how you have to put it up in any of the question. Even for Juliet also. So how would that look? See, for the 4 marks, how does Romeo glorify Juliet's beauty? They can put it up in a other way also. What similes, it's not smileys, it is similes, does Romeo use to convey Juliet's beauty and to what effect? Next, how does Romeo glorify Juliet's flawless beauty? Just the similarity in 3 questions. You can choose either of those. You can choose either of those in writing the percept answer. The answer remains the same. They can ask you in any of the other ways. So make sure the question might feel similar and also your answer should be very, very authentic in the way. Underline or highlight important words. When you start to answer, make sure that you divide your answer sheets or answer scripts such like introduction, synopsis, conclusion. When you start your synopsis, you'll have to start with a quotation for good grades. So when he says, how does Romeo glorify Juliet's beauty? You can start with the first line of her soliloquy. She doth teach the torches to burn bright, and then you can underneath the answer and then you can underline the answers after math. Next, how does Romeo glorify Juliet's flawless beauty? And everything remains same with this of the question. And next, how according to Juliet would Romeo be immortalized to the world? So how do you write? When she talks about Romeo, she only talks about cutting him into finely pieces and attaching him as a star. But with this, that cannot fetch you 4 marks. So you have to underline. When I say underline, it means that you have to write. You have to write the understanding of Juliet with that of Romeo. So what is her perception? What is that she wants to bear upon the reader or the audience? What is the passion that she acquires for Romeo? What is that she has in her art is all term time question. So the passion towards Romeo, that's what you have to write. And everything from the raven's back, everything you have to underline or understand the question with. And next, comment on the imagery of day, night, black, white. Okay. This stands very perplexed. When I say day, night, black, white, it's understood that these are the contradict to each other. These are antonym to each other. Night is a contradict to day, black is a contradict to white. Correct? So what does that imply? What is the symbolization of night, day, black, white? It means that she is aware of her impending death. So you can add your perception. You can be Juliet or you can yourself be William Shakespeare in sending a message. What does the sentence mean? Alright. And next, So last of the 4-mark questions, you can expect this, but this can be your comprehension, your critical thought. So what is the question all about? I'll read this out for you. Between Romeo and Juliet, understand this, whose love do you think is more passionate and intense? You can't be biased at all. Boys writing only Romeo, girls writing only Juliet. No. You have to be unbiased with your genders and understand the perception whose love it was. If we are talking about Romeo, he was infatuated towards Juliet when Shakespeare names it as love at first sight. But he was already in love with Rosalind, though she did not reciprocate her love to him in the sense that his love remains unrequited. Okay, it's almost like a deprived lover. But when he saw Juliet, he thought that, didn't I love till now? Does that mean that Juliet was truly an inspiration of love to Romeo? Or Romeo suddenly fell in love with her? How long would that been taken with if that wasn't a tragic end? Whose love story is this? Is it the love story of Romeo alone, Juliet alone, or Romeo and Juliet? So be very unbiased and you have to simplify the answer. It is a critical thought. Whose love? If it can be Romeo and Juliet, but you have to give a comprehension answer in the sense that you have to critically analyze this. Alright. So now, there's an home assignment. I know that I can't punish you over this, but it becomes very wise of you when you can start writing your answers personally. That's where you can improve your writing etiquettes as well. So what is the home assignment that's throwing upon you? Comment on the figures of speech. The whole of the extracts are filled with figures of speech. There are ill omen, there are day and black, white and black, and what not. Everything is so much very deprived, and also even though you can write it as deprived, you make sure that the figures of speech are portrayed well. Employed by William Shakespeare in Romeo and Juliet. You have to write in the perception of William Shakespeare. And next, very important, this is how your question paper would look like. Very important, right? It doesn't matter what you study, doesn't matter how you study. It all matters what you write in the examination. It shouldn't be like you see the question paper and everything goes blank. That wouldn't be an issue with you at all, and that's a promise. Okay, see here. The first question in itself talks about Romeo and Juliet. When, according to Juliet, would Romeo make the face of heaven so fine? When he is cut into pieces of stars and is placed there in between the stars. When he makes the whole heaven, or if I have to say heaven, look so very glorifying. And that's what makes it so fine. And this is for the 1-mark question, of course. This is for 1 mark. Here you can find the question. And coming to the 4 marks. That's very first. Remember, we're discussing this in the former of the slide. How does Romeo glorify Juliet's beauty? So here, this comes under the 4 marks, and that's the first question. So make sure it goes chronologically in your textual. It goes chronologically in textual as it does with the question paper, and also the other way round. So make sure that you don't go blank. If they have asked you the other way also, you have to be fine crafted with answer. And not over everything that's blank, am I right? There is a precap. What is that I'm going to do in my next class? Only this is the first class. You all are obliged to be so. And in my next class, I want you to get prepared on the next poem on children. This is again a poetry. The poetry on children. I would want you to discuss this amongst your friends over a call, and of course, social distancing is a must. But what distancing while you all are quiet with knowledge, isn't it? So I'll see you with all cheerness again, all life to cheers. And here once again with the ashram for you, standard retained on learning. I'll see you yet again with another new session. Until then, take care.